All right, welcome to today's explainer. We're jumping right in today because we have some incredibly fascinating source material to cover. Specifically, Chapter 6, Rebundling the Organization. What we're looking at here is a fundamental ground-up shift in how modern businesses actually operate. Look, we're not just talking about using some shiny new tool to do the same old tasks a little faster. No, this is about the core concept of completely reorganizing how teams work by leveraging AI. We're talking about a massive shift away from having these isolated, autonomous teams and stepping into an era where the entire organization is intelligently coordinated as one single, cohesive unit. Honestly, it's a concept that's going to completely rewrite how we think about management, growth, and team dynamics.
So here's our strategic playbook for today. We're going to cover 1, a sports analogy and coordination, 2, overcoming the coordination tax, 3, knowledge transformation, 4, the power of agentic workflows, 5, the autonomy coordination flywheel, and 6, the future organizational vision. Let's get into it.
Section 1, Sports and Coordination. Okay, to really grasp the power of true alignment, I want you to visualize a legendary sports rivalry from back in the mid-2000s. On one side, you had the Real Madrid Galacticos. I mean, they assembled what was arguably the greatest collection of individual talent ever seen on a single pitch. Zidane, Ronaldo, Beckham. But despite all that mind-blowing individual brilliance, they often functioned as a totally disjointed system, and they actually struggled to win titles. Now, on the flip side, you had Barcelona, who were famous for their positional play. They didn't just rely on isolated superstars. Instead, they utilized a highly structured system of coordination. Their players literally moved as a single, breathing entity. The structure itself is what enabled the brilliance of the individuals to really shine through and completely dominate the sport.
And this brings us to a crucial takeaway. Coordination, not just individual talent, is the key to collective performance. Just like on that soccer field, modern organizations fall apart when there's a coordination gap between highly skilled but totally isolated teams. You can hire the absolute best engineers in the world, the most brilliant marketers, the top-tier sales reps. But if they can't coordinate effectively across the organization, your collective output is always going to fall short. Moving on to Section 2, overcoming the coordination tax.
So let's transition from the sports field into the office. The coordination tax is this hidden, just agonizing cost that organizations pay to keep teams aligned through manual meetings, endless messaging, and constant context gathering. And the scary thing is, this isn't some one-time fee. This tax grows exponentially as companies scale. Think about it. When a company is just 5 people sitting in a room, coordination is basically free. But as you add dozens of teams, the complexity of trying to align all their disjointed efforts just escalates dramatically.
Look, you've definitely paid this tax yourself. We all have. It looks like those totally pointless alignment meetings you sit through just to get everyone on the same page. It's the endless, soul-crushing email clarification threads. It's the lost contextual knowledge and just the totally drained mental bandwidth. You might remember, back in early 2023, Shopify actually made headlines by striking back at this exact tax. They famously canceled 76,500 hours of recurring meetings in one single stroke. But while that sounds amazing on paper, eliminating meetings only attacks the symptom. Pre-scheduled meetings are really just a crutch, right? They're an insurance policy against collaboration breakdowns. The underlying disease here is actually how we manage internal knowledge.
Which leads us nicely into Section 3, Knowledge Transformation. This brings us to a really critical pivot point in our explainer. Historically, think back to the 1890s. The vertical filing cabinet totally revolutionized information management. But it was static. You had to manually encode information, physically file it away, and it lived in a silo. Fast forward to today, and if we're being honest, our modern databases and cloud folders are often just digital filing cabinets. But an AI knowledge asset? That is a completely different beast. It's dynamic, and it's shared. AI has this incredible ability to instantly transcribe and structure tacit knowledge. I'm talking about those unspoken, unstructured insights that get buried in a live Zoom meeting or hidden in an angry customer support call. It takes that and instantly converts it into explicit, actionable insights for the entire organization. So in the old manual system, coordination costs grew non-linearly, and we just tried to manage them with overhead and manual rituals. But in this new AI rebundled system, platforms like Palantir's Foundry act almost like like a brain implant for an organization. They pull unstructured, scattered data from emails, legal contracts, sensors from entirely different departments, and unbundle that information from the specific people who created it. Then it instantly makes it a structured, shared organizational asset that is continuously updated and entirely context-aware. All right, Section 4, the power of agentic workflows. Okay, now that we have the shared organizational brain, let's introduce the invisible glue that actually fills those coordination gaps to get work done. Here is the exact mechanism of what we call agentic workflows. Traditionally, software requires you to manually stitch tasks together, right? You're constantly pushing work from one tool to another. Agentic workflows flip this entirely. Step 1, the AI extracts unstructured data from across the company. Step 2, it builds a unified shared model so that literally everyone is looking at the exact same reality. And step 3, AI agents act on behalf of the user, sequencing and executing tasks across all those fragmented tools. So instead of forcing you to context switch between a dozen different apps, the AI acts like this moving assembly line, pulling the exact right work directly to you. Let's look at a really vivid example of this in action with Rox, which is an enterprise sales AI. In a normal company, customer data is scattered everywhere. Marketing has some, sales has some, support has some. Nobody sees the whole picture. Rox solves this data fragmentation by building a unified representation first, and then it deploys goal-driven agents. And here's the kicker. These agents don't wait for a human to trigger them. They continuously monitor engagement signals across all platforms. They detect buying intent, they automate highly personalized follow-ups, and they even flag churn risks before the customer ever actually complains. They seamlessly cross those rigid departmental lines, completely rebundling the work. Section 5. The autonomy coordination flywheel. Now we are arriving at a major paradigm shift. For decades, management has basically been trapped on a seesaw. You constantly have to balance autonomy on one side against coordination on the other. Take Spotify's famous growing pains as a perfect example of this. When they were small, highly autonomous teams worked brilliantly. But as they scaled up, giving teams maximum autonomy meant losing overall organizational coordination. So individual teams would hit their specific goals, but the company's overall output stalled because the pieces just didn't fit together anymore. But if you push down too hard on the coordination side, you kill agility with endless bureaucracy. It's always been a zero-sum game. Until now, AI absolutely breaks this seesaw. Because AI can automatically deliver the exact right insight to the right team at the exact right time, teams stay totally aligned without needing those manual constant check-ins. This creates a flywheel effect. Greater autonomy actually drives better coordination, and effective coordination, in turn, enhances autonomy. They no longer fight each other. They actually fuel each other continuously. It's a total game changer. But I need to pause here because there is a massive trap that we absolutely must avoid: the coordination paradox. If you only use AI to automate isolated tasks, like, say, your demand forecasting is super fast thanks to AI, but your inventory management is still stuck in a manual spreadsheet, you actually end up increasing friction. The fast teams just crash into the slow teams. Therefore, AI absolutely has to be utilized as a system-wide unifying layer. It needs to extract signals across all workflows, build a unified representation, and allow independent teams to act in perfect, seamless harmony. And finally, Section 6, the future organizational vision. As we wrap up our playbook for today, let's look at tomorrow. The goal here is not simply building an autonomous company where robots just replace all the humans. Knowledge work isn't a factory assembly line. Instead, what we are looking at is the modular organization. These are intelligently coordinated, highly autonomous human teams that are driven and connected by a shared AI nervous system. AI becomes the hidden glue. It eliminates that coordination tax we talked about, it frees up massive amounts of human cognitive capacity, and it fundamentally enhances our collective decision-making. It really forces a powerful mental shift. Ask yourself, what if AI wasn't your next hire, but your next reorg? We have to stop viewing AI merely as this tiny productivity tool to help you write emails a little bit faster and start seeing it as the ultimate organizational infrastructure that completely eliminates friction. Which leads us to a provocative final thought to leave you with. We've seen how AI acts as this hidden glue inside a company, turning scattered, disjointed teams into a unified powerhouse. But let's think even bigger. If AI can seamlessly rebundle our internal teams without requiring all that manual consensus, how will it completely rewrite the external value chain between entirely different companies across the globe? Something to chew on. Thanks for joining today's explainer, and we'll see you next time.